order to escort everyone outside the chamber. The chamber is closed. The meeting is over. It has been adjourned. There was no request for a press conference. It can be done outside of the chamber.
Thank you
No
so much.
authority to do that. It's not a meeting.
It's not a meeting, which we all know. Okay, so thank you.
There is no vote.
So again,
Waste, fraud, and abuse.
And our mayor said we
there
got to
is
go
no
outside.
Waste, fraud, and
This
abuse.
is actually a
Waste, fraud, and
press
abuse.
conference.
Needs to leave.
This is a
It
press
is a meeting
conference
that is over.
held by a
Now.
council member, held by a
Press.
council member.
Turn the press off. Out now.
Louder, Jeff.
Okay.
Waste, fraud, and abuse.
I think you guys make that you said turn the press off. You guys-
Oh, thank you, Mayor.
So thank you all for being here.
Waste,
I am
fraud,
sorry
and
for the
abuse.
majority of council chose not to be here
Waste, fraud,
today
and abuse.
to properly address these very important and urgent matters facing our city. As we celebrate our nation's independence, we're
Waste,
reminding
fraud,
of our
and
founding fathers fighting against tyranny.
Waste, fraud, and
We must
abuse.
continue to fight against tyranny even today at City Hall. I believe we all know that there were many discrepancies in the Ward 4 Republican primary contest. Both opponents agreed there were many issues. This led to a subsequent legal filings by one campaign by Friday's deadline. Saturday, around 2 p.m., I received a telephone call from our city attorney regarding the suit filed by the Alexander campaign.
Waste,
When
fraud,
he
and
called,
abuse.
my advice was this was a private matter between two
Waste, fraud,
campaigns,
and abuse.
and where both parties agreed there were problems. About
Waste,
25
fraud,
minutes
and
later,
abuse.
I received an email from the city attorney,
Waste,
marked
fraud, and abuse.
attorney-client privilege, with action items.
Waste, fraud, and abuse.
Thank you, CJ. We, as a
Waste,
deliberative
fraud,
governing
and
body,
abuse.
must take action in the public
This
view.
is not a legal press conference.
Not-
I need y'all out of the chamber
You don't,
now.
you don't have
Waste,
to do
fraud,
it.
and
You did not
abuse.
request this press conference.
Waste,
You did not
fraud,
reserve
and
the
abuse.
chamber for a
It's
press
a public
conference.
meeting.
You did not go through the clerk of council that you're supposed to. You need to go outside the chamber right now. No, I'm not letting him speak. No.
Saturday around 2 p.m.
No. No. I'm not going to let him speak because he's breaking the rules. He's not correct.
And we are the ones who caused the chaos.
No. I need an officer now.
Are we the ones causing
I need an
chaos?
officer now.
They work for the city manager. They work for the.
Okay, so as
Someone
our
get
city
Winter,
secretary,
please.
You're gonna need to get the city manager or the acting city manager.
Get Winter, please, Phil.
so with that, my advice was this was a private with the
Waste,
city,
fraud, and
with the
abuse.
city attorney.
Shaq,
this
can
was a
you get
private
Winter
matter
right now, please?
between
Waste,
two
fraud, and
campaigns.
abuse.
Both parties agreed.
Waste, fraud,
About
and
25
abuse.
minutes later,
Waste,
I
fraud,
received
and
an email
abuse.
from the city attorney,
Waste, fraud,
marked
and
attorney-client privilege.
Waste,
We are a
fraud,
deliberative
and
body.
abuse.
We don't take
Waste,
action
fraud, and
based
abuse.
on private
Waste,
phone
fraud,
calls.
and
We
abuse.
take
This is what I
action
said.
based on debate.
Waste,
Two bullies that
fraud,
try to get
and
their
abuse.
way and don't listen.
We
Not following
actually
procedure.
are-
This is
we don't
exactly what I said this
listen to
morning.
just one side like a private
Exactly
phone
what I
call.
said.
We hear both sides. We deliberate. We act.
Waste,
And we
fraud,
take a
and
recorded
abuse.
vote, not a private
Waste,
phone
fraud,
call.
and abuse.
Private phone calls can
Waste,
be
fraud,
very
and
easily
Waste,
manipulated
fraud,
when
and
it's
abuse.
presented by one side. Or you get a private
Waste,
phone call.
fraud,
You're in the
and
middle of
abuse.
picking up your kids at the grocery store.
Waste,
Or
fraud,
at
and
the,
abuse.
at the swimming
Waste,
contest.
fraud, and abuse.
Okay? So,
Waste, fraud, and abuse.
yes, so are we the ones causing chaos? I mean, I think everybody's kind of seeing things clearly. Okay. Governing bodies have both
Waste, fraud,
sides.
and abuse.
They have open public meetings, they
Waste,
debate
fraud,
the
and
issues,
abuse.
and then they cast a recorded vote.
Waste, fraud, and
We
abuse.
brought this forward so we could get back
Waste,
to
fraud,
normal
and
procedures.
abuse.
Not private phone
Waste,
calls and
fraud,
straw
and
polls.
abuse.
If the city wanted direction on what the
Waste,
city
fraud, and
attorney
abuse.
should do, what should happen
Waste,
is
fraud,
that they
and
could have
abuse.
called a special meeting
Waste,
Monday
fraud,
morning.
and abuse.
They didn't. Why didn't they? As
Waste,
you can
fraud, and
see,
abuse.
much detail went into the following these procedures that we presented
Waste, fraud, and
today. You can
abuse.
see what we did to actually have a special
Waste,
call
fraud, and
meeting.
abuse.
You can actually see what we did to have the agenda. we can actually see what happens with the resolutions. With all of that being said,
Waste, fraud, and
we
abuse.
wanted to debate this in public, not having people screaming from
Waste,
the back
fraud,
of the
and
room.
abuse.
As you can see,
Waste, fraud,
sunshine
and abuse.
is a great antiseptic.
Waste, fraud, and abuse.
Does council think that we should have a city attorney that uses taxpayer
Waste,
resources
fraud, and
to
abuse.
fund one side of
Waste,
personal
fraud,
litigation?
and abuse.
Do you have attorney-client privilege if you don't have
Waste,
client?
fraud, and abuse.
Attorney-client privilege means you have an
Waste,
attorney and
fraud,
a
and
client.
abuse.
There are two parties to this
Waste,
contest.
fraud, and abuse.
Alexander versus
Waste,
Feraldi.
fraud, and abuse.
I can assure you, Alexander
fraud,
is
and
not
abuse.
the client to the city
Waste,
attorney.
fraud, and abuse.
So you can speculate who is
Waste,
the
fraud,
client
and
to the
abuse.
city attorney. If there is not a
Waste, fraud,
client,
and
then
abuse.
how can this email that was sent be marked
Waste, fraud,
secret
and abuse.
under the attorney-client privilege?
Waste, fraud, and
We
abuse.
tried to do normal procedures. When Matt
Waste,
called me
fraud, and
Saturday,
abuse.
I strongly advised against
Waste,
the city
fraud,
getting
and
involved in a
abuse.
personal matter.
Waste,
25
fraud,
minutes
and
later,
abuse.
he sent an email marked
Waste,
confidential.
fraud, and abuse.
So now we called a special meeting.
Waste, fraud, and
Since
abuse.
we didn't have a quorum today, we're
Waste,
holding the
fraud,
press
and
conference.
abuse.
And guess what? This
Waste,
issue doesn't go
fraud,
away because these are
abuse.
important issues for our citizens.
Waste,
These are
fraud,
important
and
issues
abuse.
that we're going to keep bringing back. And
Waste,
we're calling
fraud,
for
and
another
abuse.
special meeting Tuesday
Waste,
when we
waste,
have
fraud,
another
and
meeting
abuse.
scheduled. Now, I know some people
I
may
have
try to
first
say
amendment
don't
right
show
to
up
stand
or
and say
yelling
waste, fraud, and abuse.
inflammatory things in the back.
Waste,
But
fraud, and
we
abuse.
need to get these answers.
Waste, fraud,
We'll
and
always
abuse.
do right by the citizens that trusted us
Waste,
to represent
fraud,
them,
and abuse.
regardless of the obstacles.
Waste,
These
fraud,
issues
and
need to be
abuse.
addressed by a duly
Waste,
elected
fraud,
governing
and
body.
abuse.
And with that, I yield to Councilmember Biscuit.
Thank you all for being here. I
Waste,
specifically
fraud,
thank the
abuse.
press for standing up
Waste,
for our First
fraud,
Amendment and not
abuse.
leaving.
Waste, fraud, and abuse.
We just believe there's some
Waste,
reasonable
fraud,
questions that
and
need to
abuse.
be answered before we decide.
Waste, fraud, and abuse.
For example,
Taxpayer
election
waste,
board-
taxpayer
the
fraud,
electoral board,
and
reach
taxpayer
out to the
abuse.
city, the mayor, the city attorney, or the city manager, consistent with the signed memorandum of understanding to ask for city involvement.
Waste,
If anybody
fraud,
wants to see a
and
copy of that signed memorandum of understanding,
Waste,
I
fraud,
got one
and
copy
abuse.
of it right here for the press. You guys are
Waste,
feel free to
fraud, and
take a look at
abuse.
that. And you'll see there's a
Waste,
highlighted
fraud,
paragraph
and
that
abuse.
says the
Waste, fraud, and
city
abuse.
attorney does not
Waste,
represent the
fraud,
electoral
and
board.
abuse.
It's right there if you want to see it.
Waste, fraud, and abuse.
Also,
Waste, fraud,
if someone
and
didn't
abuse.
reach out to the electoral board or the
Waste,
registrar,
fraud,
how did
and
this idea
abuse.
get started? Did
Waste,
somebody,
fraud, and abuse.
where'd it come from? To get the
Waste,
city
fraud,
involved.
and abuse.
And like I said, I can't
Waste, fraud,
discuss
and abuse.
the contents of this email that's redacted. And I've got extra copies of this for you guys to have. I can't discuss the content of this email.
Waste,
What I am
fraud,
basing
and
this
abuse.
off of is what Councilmember Helgeson told me
Waste,
in the phone
fraud,
call
and
that he
abuse.
received, because I never
Waste,
received a phone
fraud,
call from the
and
city
abuse.
attorney. It's important that we operate consistent with this memorandum of understanding with the electoral board and the registrar's office. Because
Waste,
we need to
fraud,
make sure
and
that our
abuse.
elections remain fair,
Waste,
impartial,
fraud,
and
and
accurate.
abuse.
Since the mayor's
Waste,
indicated this
fraud,
meeting's not
and
gonna take
abuse.
place at this time, Councilmember Helgeson shared that we've already rescheduled. I just gave the clerk a notice for a special called meeting next week. That'll be at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. Plenty of advance.
It's a regular
The question that I
city
have
next
is,
week.
why are we waiting so long? They could have called a special meeting on Monday. Why didn't they? There are strict
that's
deadlines
not
that have to be met, which is why we need to
Natural
act with
disaster.
expediency. I've got several copies of this. These are the sections of the Code of Virginia that apply to what we're talking about. There's sections highlighted here that'll make it clear that the contestee, who in this situation is Mr. Feraldi, has 10 days to respond. If there is a situation involving the city trying to weigh in and represent him, if that is the case, there's a 10-day window for that to happen. We need to make sure that tax dollars aren't going towards representing political campaigns or candidates.
There's a state.
Why was there not a special meeting called for Monday to address this issue?
There's a city council meeting on Tuesday. As I said, waste,
So,
fraud, and
the
abuse.
questions that I have, that you should all be asking, is someone proposing the city take a position in the litigation? If so, what's the position that they want? And how do we propose, or how do they propose we decide such issues as a council consistent with procedures we've used in the past if we're not meeting and deliberating the issue? Why are we not meeting and deliberating the issue and actually having a recorded vote in the public on this matter?
City council
Why
meeting
did
on
Chris
Tuesday.
Feraldi make a claim in his email that I have right here? Also got a copy of it for you. Why did he make a claim in his email that's inconsistent with my sworn statement? Right? So I've got a copy of that for you here. He says, quote, Marty Mischins wants to take your vote away. However, what was actually filed, got lots of different papers here. What was actually filed, nope, it's on the back, is that we're not sure, I'll read it. I cannot express confidence that every ballot was counted or accounted for in the Lynchburg Republican primary for City Council in Ward 4. A detailed audit of the election with a full manual recount may be the only way to ensure no voter has been disenfranchised and that all properly cast ballots have been counted. I believe that is of the utmost importance that we ensure every single legal vote cast by our citizens was counted in the June 2024 Republican primary. Why is he not telling the public that concerns exist with whether or not every ballot was counted? Why isn't he sharing that? I think that's pretty important. The question that I have is, who contacted Mr. Friedman to notify him about the litigation? Because I did make some phone calls. At the time that we received this email, this one, at the time that we received this email, the only people that I am aware of from the night before that had a copy of the filed complaint were Mr. Alexander himself, the Mr. Alexander's attorney, the process server, and Mr. Feraldi. So who notified Mr. Friedman about this litigation for the proposal for the city to get involved? That's a question that I have. If the mayor's communicating with others outside of the city council and outside of the city attorney, it would be helpful to know what those conversations involved, so that the information shared in those conversations can help all of us with any decision we need to make about the city, its memorandum of understanding, and this litigation. Just a few questions we believe are reasonable, in which the answers can assist us all in our decision making as a body together in front of you, the public and the press. Why is the mayor unwilling to ask these questions with us? Why is she unwilling to seek the answers to these questions? And why is she unwilling to have a discussion about this important issue? It is absolutely critical that we get this right now. Is it not in the public's interest to get answers to these questions and irregularities before the November presidential election?
You're here.
That's all I have.
Thank you all. If you have any questions, we've got a few minutes before we get shouted out
And
again.
there are plenty of people back here that have questions too.
Can you guys come up?
Yes.
Yeah, can you come up? Thank you.
That's better. That's where we should have been.
Yes.
Why didn't you tell us that before?
Arguments are right there. You guys?
You want to come up?
I'm gonna plug the
I'm more ready than Kelsey.
light up for a second. Can one of you guys pass me my mic over there?
Who needs a copy of what? I got a few copies of this.
I don't appreciate that.
Kelsey, when you're done, step right here.
Okay.
This is not supposed to be in here. The police need to clear that out, not intimidate her. Well, everybody else.
Yes.
Well, then you need that, absolutely, then you need to be clear across the board.
Yeah.
Put us all out.
I don't know how much we were able to hear.
Yeah.
Really? With all
Yeah,
the yelling?
unfortunately,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Well, I have a few things that what I stated I can hand to you.
Thank you.
I've got 2 copies of this.
Okay.
If anybody, you
I'll take
guys want to
Yeah,
take
can I
pictures.
take one? Yeah.
And then,
Which is what I was trying to read. That was my comments that I was trying to read before being yelled at. But anyway, it's critical.
I got multiple copies of the state code sections involved. You guys can
Do either of you actually have time to put a clip mic on just so we can kind of cancel out the back noise?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I don't know if people will start yelling again. Are these the same thing? Okay, yeah. It was a staple to the back of that staple.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
If you want to ask questions, maybe we could go outside.
Yeah, let's go
for
out.
that.
Let's just go
Let's go
outside.
outside for that.
Yeah.
Since you guys aren't set up, we can go outside. Thank you all for coming.